What's going on, people of YouTube? Happy Saturday morning. Let me adjust my camera action here this morning. Very festive. My wife's out there. She has a children's class where they're making ornaments, and she's dressed up in children's attire. So I'm going to wander around the business today looking like a dork with my cat Christmas sweater on. Don't judge. What's going on? Usually these live videos last about an hour, so I'll be here for about an hour. And what's going on, Robert? I'll be here for about an hour today, unless you guys get tired of me. Yep, cool sweater, thanks. Can't beat that. We're trying to get a little festive. I'm back here in the back of my wife's business. This is my gym, my little training area. I have a client coming in at 11. We're going to work on squats and deadlifts and bench press form and all that kind of good stuff. So what's everybody up to this morning? Before we dive in, just a note, I'm here every Saturday at 10 a.m., give or take a few minutes, depending on how slow I rise up out of bed. But here every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, and I also do a live on Instagram every Wednesday at 7 Eastern. That's PM. If I don't get to your question on this video, post it up again. If I don't get to your question or you want one-on-one advice, go over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Send me a DM, and I would be glad to help out. What's going on, John West? If just a reminder, I have right now through the new year, I'm offering a free month of classes, and excuse me, a free month of coaching. I gotta get my head out of my butt this morning. A free month of coaching. So if you're trying to lose weight, you want to build more muscle, more strength, you're not happy with your results, come on over to my Instagram. Look for @BenTheBarman on Instagram. Send me a DM. I'll give you more information. Usually I'll talk with the guys on the phone for about a half an hour, and then we get into it. So, all right, let's get into questions. What's going on, Ben? Ben says, great news. Since switching to a full body 6 times with volume spread out over my dumbbell bench, I jumped from 60 by 20 to 70 by 18 as of today. Is that good progression over a 2-week period of time? Absolutely. That's wonderful progression. And if you continue that, I mean, if you can just add a rep or two every workout, you'll be doing good because you're at 70 by 18. If you go in next time and you do 70 by 20, and then you go in the next time, you do 75 by 16. That's really good progression when you can add a rep or two on a dumbbell lift. Let's see. Rares NNK underground muscles. Yo, Steve. Would rowing and developing my back help with a winged scapula? I'm not sure what you mean by a winged scapula. I'm not sure if that's a medical condition or if what you're trying to express is something like that, but I've never heard of it before. So excuse my ignorance. I try not to discuss things I don't know anything about. Your question, though, was, would rowing and developing your back help with a winged scapula? I will say rowing and back work will help with a lot of things in life. You want a strong back. That is one of the areas just functionally that you want to take care of. The area around your spine, the area around your neck, your lower back. So whatever the issue anybody has, there is always a good reason to do back work. Alexander, awesome sweater. Yep, for those of you guys that didn't see it, my wife is helping kids in her business today do Christmas ornaments. So she's dressed as Mrs. Claus, so I had to wear something at least, luxurious and sexy. Let's see. Alexander says, so is gas a signal that I'm eating too much? No, no, gas is a signal that you're probably eating normally. But no, it's absolutely not a signal you're eating too much. Usually for me, it's the food choice that does it. A more carb focused diet does that for me. So, Harut, you think high rep full body workouts on off days for cardio make sense? Let's see, high rep full body work. You can do that. I mean, as recovery work. I would do that with a light weight, because the point of cardio is to get your heart rate elevated. And, you know, you can, I do some stuff like that with body weight. You can do it with lighter dumbbells, certainly. Just don't make it too challenging. Just remember the point of cardio is to raise your heart rate and probably to help you to recover a little bit. So yeah, it's absolutely fine. And apparently Robert's trying to hijack my channel by asking questions or answering questions. Robert, I love you, but this is my channel. Steve is muscle claws. That's funny. Dwayne, with a heavy manual labor job, should I focus on heavy sets, low rep workout to assist with recovery issues, or should I be doing higher rep sets as I'm already sore? I was a machinist that had to move a lot of weight, do a lot of repetition work with a lot of weight that was 50 to 100 pounds, lifting and loading and stuff like that. And it beat the crap out of my body. The best thing you can do is work out normally, but make sure your food intake and your sleep assist with recovery. So, you know, you probably, the low rep stuff, like anything under 5 reps, nobody really needs to be doing that unless they're peaking for a powerlifting meet or they're an advanced strength lifter. Everybody else needs rep work. Don't overthink this stuff. Everybody else needs to be working within the 5 to 12 rep range or whatever for compound movements. That's just a general spiel. But if you have a heavy manual labor job, you might need to be doing fewer sets. You might need to be doing less volume because your job's physically taxing, but you don't specifically want to do a lot of low rep work. No one does. And I'm not sure where people get this idea that they need to do low rep work when they're not peaking for a powerlifting meet. You certainly can. Some exercises are are more forgiving. If you want to do like a 5x3 on deadlifts, that's fine. Deadlifts tend to work better on lower rep sets. But low rep sets on squats are really kind of silly if you're not peaking for a powerlifting meet. But they can be done. I'm not telling anybody not to do them. But if you have a heavy, a manual labor job, and you're not peaking for a powerlifting meet, just stick to conventional rep ranges. If I miss your guys' questions, just post them up again. Is this my new workout gear? Yep, this is what I'm working on. I'm actually training a client in this today. So what can I say? Let's see. It's okay, Robert. It's okay, Robert. All good. It just gets confusing when people are asking me questions and then people are answering them in the questions. It's just not something I like to happen. Sebastian, thoughts on squats for 5 sets of 20 for conditioning? Does it count? Everything counts for conditioning. I mean, if you want to do 5x20 for conditioning, absolutely. You have to understand, though, that that's probably going to make you very, very sore unless you're lucky or the weight is so tediously light that you'd probably be better off doing body weight squats. So if you're looking at doing a 5x20 for conditioning, you can do it. The weight has to be light. I did, first time I did German volume training, I did 185, which is very light for me for a 10x10. And it's a very light weight, but I could not walk 8 days later. I was so incredibly sore. So squats are kind of an odd exercise. You might be better off doing body weight squats for conditioning or jump squats for conditioning. And then maybe on your squat day or leg day, adding in 1 to maybe 2 20 rep sets of squats after you're done with your regular squat work or in addition to your squat work. That's just my opinion. If you don't get sore from 5x20, then do it. But just be really careful with overworking that movement pattern with weight on your back, and I don't want you to get too sore. Ben on Adventure says, if she's dressed as Mrs. Claus, you should have got a full-blown Santa costume. Yeah, but I had to save my money and spend it on beer. So that's just the way it goes, Ben. Hey, Steve, what's your opinion on gymnastic rings? They are humbling me. My opinion is that they would probably humble me too. They look very challenging. They look fun. As with anything that's very unstable, you probably really want to take your time, gain some basic strength levels on them, master the basics. You probably really want to go in there on them and just spend a lot of time on the basics. There's a lot of neat tricks and a lot of crazy stuff people try, and it looks like a good way to rip your shoulder open. So it looks fun. Looks like something I would have tried when I was younger, but just take care of your body. That's all I can say. Let me get some coffee here. Just a reminder, guys, I'll be on probably till about 11. I'll just keep answering questions as long as you guys have them. If you need coaching, just a reminder, you can go over to my Instagram, @BenTheBarman. Send me a DM. First month of coaching is free, and I'd be glad to talk to you a little bit more about that. All right. Rare NNK underground muscle. Would delts and upper chest always be lagging part for natural, even if you get to 200-pound overhead press? 200-pound overhead press for, let's say you get to 200 for 10 on overhead press, which can be done for naturals. You probably have to be a heavy, heavier natural, a seasoned natural. But will your delts be lagging? No one can really say. There are body parts I've trained my whole life that just look aesthetically like crap, like my biceps. There are body parts that, for me, aesthetically, don't really require a lot of work to look good. Just the way I'm built, like my shoulders and my traps. My quads are big. My chest, I don't think I have a good chest. I don't think I have a good bicep. So lagging, if you're working hard, and building a lot of strength and doing a reasonable amount of volume on your shoulders, they're going to be what they're going to be. That's all I can say. So I can't really say if they're going to be lagging. A lot of times it's just the body composition, the way your body looks, the way the muscle insertions are, and all that kind of good stuff. But it's just hard for me to say. The best thing you want to do on any body part is get it reasonably strong and do a reasonable amount of volume on it. Guys will do a lot of overhead pressing where they're doing lower rep sets. I don't like that at all for shoulders. I'd rather see you go in and do 3, 4, 5 sets of 8 to 10 on a compound movement for shoulders. I'd like to see you do a barbell and dumbbell movement each week for shoulders, maybe 3 sets of each for 8 to 10 reps. That's a good base volume, and then you can add in extra volume on some other shoulder exercises. I find when I'm training in here, and I did this week on shoulders, that when I do volume work as finishers or assistance exercise, I get some really good pumps. I get some really good value out of that, specifically for shoulders. So let's see. Alexander says, is there any gender difference in the way one gets a more conditioned body? Absolutely. I assume you mean by condition how ripped someone can get. If you mean physical condition or how easy it is for someone to get in good shape, no, there would be really no difference from what I've seen. Men obviously have a hormonal advantage, but really physical conditioning comes down to your head and your heart, whereas conditioning or the state of being more defined, men are always going to have the advantage. It's easier for men to get lean. Men have a hormonal advantage in that area. Men have more muscle mass. The more muscle mass you have, the leaner you appear, because if you think of the surface area, the bigger your head, if you have fat around your head, the bigger your head, it stretches that fat out to it just gets thinner. The fatter your head is, the thinner your head fat gets. You know what I'm saying? Same with a muscle. If you keep the same amount of fat on this arm, but add 2 inches of arm size, that fat is stretched over a greater surface area, and is going to look leaner. So women tend to struggle to get as lean as men to begin with. So men definitely have an advantage, but women can still get pretty darn lean. So in the long run, if you want to get there, you'll get there. James, is the floor press a viable option to replace the regular bench press? I guess the reason, when I look at questions like that, the first thing I ask is, why are you trying to replace the bench press? I don't like replacing movements. I don't like looking for replacements for squats and rows and stuff like that. My best advice, And what I think is of really good value is if you do bench press 1 week and then floor presses the next. I like alternating. What I did the first 10 years of training is I would go in and do barbell bench press 1 week, and I would follow that with incline dumbbell bench press as a backup. And then the next week, my main exercise was incline barbell bench press. And then I'd follow that up with dumbbell bench press as a backup. I don't like replacing exercises, but I do like alternating exercises. So if there's a viable reason to replace it, I mean, if you can't do a bench or you don't have the equipment, a floor bench or a floor press would be okay, but you're not getting all the way to your chest. You probably want to superset it with something like push-ups, or you probably want to make sure you're doing a lot more direct chest work. Bodhi Rana, and excuse me if I mispronounce your name, any non-instrumental workout to substitute the deadlift? Non-instrumental to substitute the deadlift. Nothing is a substitution for the deadlift. If you want to assist the deadlift, you can do things like front squats or Zercher squats or Dimmel deadlifts or stuff like that. You can do dumbbell Romanian deadlifts if you don't have a barbell, but you probably need to strap up and go really, really heavy on those. But nothing replaces a deadlift. And I probably need more information to see why you need to replace it. Joseph G. Steve, if you are coming back from low back injury and had to limit squats and deadlifts, what exercises would you perform? I'd have to know what the lower back injury was, because I got to be honest with you, Steve, and I don't, or Joseph, I don't know your condition. But as somebody that's been doing this for 33 years, I get this question every single day. And 90% of people that ask me this question, honestly, are just lazy and they're looking for replacement exercises. And when I ask them what their lower back injury is, they don't really have one. Either they were too fat and their lower back, no disrespect, man, they were too obese and their lower back took a punishment from inactivity, or they just sit a lot and they're just not taking care of themselves. So if it's a real lower back injury, you need to stop thinking in terms of what replaces a squat and deadlift and think in terms of what can you do to build the muscle groups from head to toe. What can you do to build quads? What can you do to build back? What can you do to strengthen your lower back? And that's pretty easy. Back exercises, you can do rows, you can do dumbbell rows, barbell rows, lat pull down, seated cable rows, and then you got to find something to strengthen your lower back. And for quads, there's a lot of good quad exercises. You can do leg presses, hack squats, sissy squats, leg extensions, body weight lunges, all kinds of good stuff. So, and again, Joseph, I'm not implying that you don't have a lower back injury. I'm simply stating as someone that does this for a career that I get that question every day. And most people have some reason their lower back isn't healthy and it's not due to an injury. So I'm just using that as a caveat for anybody that's watching. X Varska. I'm currently squatting around 65 pounds by 12. Is 220 pounds in a year realistic? If you are not squatting 220 by 10 in a year, you're doing something wrong. You are absolutely doing something wrong if you can't get to that within a year. I got a client coming in here at 11 who just started squatting with me 4 weeks or 4 months ago, and he'll be squatting 315 in 6 months. And he has naturally bigger legs, but you need to set the bar pretty high when it comes to squat progress. After my first year, I was doing 315 for reps. My second year, I was doing 365 for about 5. So yes, absolutely, you should be able to do 220 for at least 5 reps after your first year. If not, something's going wrong. He says also, should I drop the weight to focus on technique? 65 pounds is light. You do not need to drop the weight to focus on technique. That is a dropped weight. We focus on technique as we improve our strength. I really dislike the concept of resetting my weight to focus on form. Most people who do that, and I'm just being honest here because I want to help people, most people that reset the weight to focus on form don't do anything different on their form. They don't really seek quality help. They don't really seek a good form assessment, or they don't improve. On that note, if you need a form assessment, hit me up over on Instagram at Ben the Barman. I do that service as well. Master Mimo. Hey, Steve, low rep strength sets together with high rep volume sets later during the same workout. Any opinion? Yeah, I mean, if you're more late intermediate advanced type of lifter, you have a pretty good base of strength, then what I always did, and not on deadlifts, because there's no value in training the deadlift above 90% of your 1 rep max. It's just going to have the tendency to tear up your lower back over time. But what I always did on squats and bench press as an advanced lifter that was training specifically for strength, not just for muscle, because I was pretty much tapped out as far as muscle goes. I would go in and do my heavy work first. And then let's say I'd work up to whatever I felt like on a given day on squats or bench, whatever felt good. And again, this is for strength-focused training. And then I would drop the weight like 5 to 10% and do as many reps as possible, drop the weight another 5, 10%, do as many reps as possible. So you want to start with your strength work, and then you want to dial the weight back down and do more reps. So absolutely, it's a good way to do things. Prime your central nervous system with that heavy work, and then move on to the lighter stuff. John West, Steve, do you do anything specifically for guy health? I assume you mean gut health. Gut health is actually something that's very important. And I take a probiotic every morning to start the day. I notice my food choices really impact my gut health. If I go have a bag of Blaze Doritos and some nacho cheese, my gut is a mess the next day. Your gut is trying to tell you something. So the biggest things I do for gut health is try to eat properly. I take a probiotic every day. And those are the big things that I do specifically, but I don't do anything other than that. I don't do any of the magical gut health stuff that's out there. And I say magical facetiously because some people just focus on it too much, like it's some miraculous cure. If you have a specific gut issue, you probably want to look into that because that might help a little bit more. But for the average person, they just need to eat healthy, drink plenty of water. Winner, Nara, how good is your box jump? I will tell you this. When I met Alan Roberts 2 years ago, I was doing box jumps every single leg workout. I played basketball. I was always able to grab the rim, never able to dunk. I'm 5'10". I've always been a pretty good leaper, but not a great leaper. And in the gyms I'm at, I just never trained to get that high. There's just no place to do it. So I have no idea. I really don't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can do what Alan Roberts can, because I can't. When I met Alan, the interesting story is Alan couldn't even do the box jumps with me. We were both strong. We're pretty much equals as far as strength and as far as size. He's one of the few people I've ever met in my life that was my equal. And that's a compliment to Alan. But as far as conditioning, when I met him, he wasn't as conditioned as I was. And I don't consider myself to be in great condition. I can go do things, but Alan has come such a long way. Just amazing to see his progress. Nothing but respect for him. And I don't, I'm 51. I don't have time for that stuff. It's just not something I like to do when I say I don't have time for it. So I'd rather be out hiking. No disrespect for anybody that wants to do it. Just not something I like to do. Yes, split squat's a good alternative for those with back issues. I answered this earlier, but split squats, if you have a real back issue and you need to work your quads, then split squats are certainly an exercise worthy of consideration. Alexander says, how often can I eat dirty? I use a 20% rule. When we're younger, the body can mask the impact of what we're eating. Your hormones, are a little bit stronger. Your gut's going to be able to tolerate it better. When I was young, my gut, wasn't getting torn up by eating Doritos and pizza, or at least I didn't notice it because I was superhuman. So you can eat a little bit more frequently, but try to stick to 80% of your calories from whole foods. And, that's just a general rule. Have some fun sometimes. It's just the folks that are abusing every single day, where 40, 50, 60% of their calories are from crap. Those are the people that are in trouble. All right, guys, I'm going to be on for another 35 minutes. I'm going to try to get caught up on questions. If I miss your questions, head over to Instagram, follow me at Ben the Barman, and slide up into my DM and just give me your question, and I will answer it. I answer every question I get DM'd over there. And you can slide in my DM if you want one-on-one coaching. My first month is free, and I can tell you more about that up in my DM. James Worley, what rep range do you recommend for bicep training? For smaller muscle groups like biceps, calves, and things like that, it's probably better never to go below 8 rep sets. I find a lot of value in doing 10 to 12 rep sets. Honestly, for me personally, I've tried 12 rep sets. I did some 15 rep sets for biceps this week. Honestly, for me, on an average day, I find 12 to 15 rep sets to be rather tedious, just because you're counting and you're counting and you're counting. I'd rather do 5 by 10 than to do 3 by 15. I'd rather get in my volume by doing 10 rep sets, because 10, you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. But that's all personal choice. Just don't go too low or too intense on bicep exercise. There's no reason to do a 5 rep, max attempt or anything like that. You're better off building strength in volume areas. Let's see. Tom says, aerobics for recovery. I'm getting old. Everybody needs to do some form of cardio. And you really need to think, and especially if you're aging, you need to think about doing recovery work or cardio just for your health. And it will help your ability to recover, certainly. Let's see. Bara, B-A-R-A-A. Let me get some coffee. Best way to train biceps. Best way to train biceps is 2 to 3 exercises for about 10 rep sets. I've never done any more than 8 to 9 sets for biceps a week. If you want big arms, you need big triceps. Okay, so just understand that. But best way to train biceps, I think for the average guy, if they do a dumbbell curl or a barbell curl, I like the combination of a dumbbell curl and an easy bar curl, and then something with a little bit more feel, like a cable curl. I have a band set up that I hook onto the door that I do band curls with. But that's a good combination. You need some rep work, maybe in a dumbbell, maybe in a barbell, maybe in an easy bar. You can do standing easy bar curls, standing cable curls, and then finish it off with a lighter exercise, but for some volume, and get them strong. Get your back strong too. Free to be free. Hey, Steve, I enjoyed your video on traps and shoulders being more impressive than chest and shoulders. Any advice for yoke-specific exercises? Thank you. Yoke-specific stuff, the biggest thing I can tell people if they want big traps and big shoulders is to get volume in on shoulders. Don't go low rep stuff on shoulders. Do a dumbbell shoulder overhead press each week, a barbell overhead press each week for about 3 sets of 8 to 10. Get them very strong. And do your deadlifts. After your deadlifts, you can do you can do farmer's walks, farmer's carries. After my deadlifts, I like to do some form of trap training. And usually I'll just lighten the weight a little bit and do static holds and power shrugs, or power shrugs followed by static holds. There's a lot of ways to work it. But at the end of the day, I think a barbell provides the best bang for your buck when working your traps and your yoke. You can do static holds. You can do combinations of static holds and shrugs. I've gotten very, very, very elaborate in the stuff I would do over the years. Sometimes I do three shrugs, and then I just hold the bar for 5 seconds. Then I do 3 more shrugs and hold the bar for 5 seconds. With the traps, it's hard to get a lot of time under tension because the reps are so quick like this. There's not a lot of time under tension. So I like working in static holds at the end of deadlift sets, in between, singles, doubles, or triples of power shrugs, just as a way to increase the intensity. So that's something you guys might want to try. X Element Z. Can you make a video on how to structure an upper-lower split, just like you made on how to structure a full body? That's actually a very good topic, because over the years, my opinion on how to structure them has evolved a little bit, just because I make a lot of workouts for a living, for my clients and for other reasons. But, I used to just be straight upper lower, but now I'm finding a lot of value in doing upper being chest and shoulders and arms focused, and then lower day being more legs and back. It's just making more sense for me when I structure things. So I'd love to make a video on that and present the 2 different ways that I tend to focus on doing upper lower. So that's a great idea. Harut, I'm 6'2", always had terrible balance. Any specific exercises to help this? More sex. You'll forget that you're unbalanced. Just being funny. 6'2", and always felt a little bit lanky and had terrible balance. Probably just go out and start working on, some plyo type of stuff or some agility type of stuff. One of the crazy easy ways you can do that is trail running, because trail running, the ground is always uneven. You can go get your cardio in and work on your balance a little bit. When I did my trail marathon, you're always jumping around between rocks and twigs and all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you're doing any cardio, that's probably a good thing to do. But you probably want to do some explosive work, or some body weight stuff like jump squats. And as far as balance, you want to get strong, obviously. Strength is going to be the key for a lot of things, but you probably want to do some explosive work and some agility work. I'm no expert on balance, so that's just my opinion. Salmon, do the support holds, Steve. Your shoulders will thank you. You do the support holds for time if you can do RTO versions. I really don't. I don't know what that means. So I assume you're talking about the rings, but I really don't know what that's in reference to. Very sorry. John West, thoughts on using a power block on leg extensions and curls for accessory work? On using a power block on leg extensions. I don't know what you mean there. I'm confused by what you mean on a power block for leg extensions. So very sorry. Ben on Adventure, did you ever compete back in your 20s and 30s? I know you said you've been in the fitness industry for years. No, I gained most of my muscle mass my first 3 years, in 86 to 89. In 91, I went in the military, and I was in the military for several years. And, you're forced to be thinner in the military, and you don't really get a chance to lift a lot of weights. I still would lift on and off in the military, obviously. But I got out of the military in 94, and by then I was 27. And then in 96, I met my ex-wife. So, no, I had kids in 99, so no, I never competed. I actually got to my biggest muscle-wise, I think, in 1998 or 1998, 1999. I was at my biggest and strongest. And that was like at age 31, 32. I just never liked getting super ripped. I mean, I like food and beer too much. What is the best hand placement for a heavy bench? The best hand placement for any bench is you want to make sure that your wrists are over your elbows at least, or a little bit open from that position. Okay, so you got your wrists over elbows. Make sure you're not flared up here. You want to be down here a little bit, wrists over elbows. That's a really good starting position, either wrists over elbows or just a hair out. Because if you move a hair out, your elbows are going to rotate in, and that's a little bit better position than moving them in and having them rotate out, because that'll rotate the shoulders and put more strain on the shoulders, in my opinion. Micah, opinion on specificity versus more carryover, movement volume, and powerlifting. Specificity versus more carryover, movement volume. I'm not really sure what you're asking. If you're asking if you can do a lot of assistance exercises that have carryover to the big movements, or if you should focus on the big movements. Here's what I believe when it comes to powerlifting. Get everything in the human body as strong as possible. Get everything in the human body as big as possible. Everything from head to toe as strong, as big as possible. Stop worrying about assistance exercises, because you do not need to worry about that stuff until you have built an incredible amount of strength. So get into the gym, do a reasonable program. If you want to mess around with Zerchers, fine. If you want to mess around with front squats, fine. Don't use them as a replacement for the big exercises, but get everything from head to toe as strong and as big as humanly possible. Then when you wake up and you're already freaky strong, then you can start to play around with variables. That's my best opinion on how to approach powerlifting. Corey, I suck at asking questions, but you're asking one right now, so you just officially unsucked. Never know what to ask. Where did you get the cap? This is Browning, and I love Browning caps. I'm an outdoors guy. When I'm not sitting in here in my little cat sweater for Christmas, I am out there buried in the woods somewhere. I love being outside. I love being outdoors. If I had $1 billion, I'd just go off and hike and you'd never see me again, ever. So, projects. What is the best way to increase the overhead press? Volume. Volume, volume, volume. Each week, do 3 sets of dumbbell overhead presses, 3 sets of barbell overhead presses for 8 to 10 reps. Whoever just gave me the donation, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. When you're doing a barbell or dumbbell overhead press, do about 8 to 10 reps and focus on progressing in that range. And then get your triceps strong. That's the best base possible for building up your overhead press strength. Parv says, hey. I say, hey. I got somebody that posted in Russian. Doesn't no Spreketa Russian, sorry. X element Z on an upper lower split. When should I do deadlifts on upper or lower? What I like to do on an upper lower split is I like to do a rotation. Upper A, lower A, upper B, lower B. So I'm rotating between 4 exercises. This is the way I like to do it. And on the lower day, you have 2 lower days. I like to make one squat focus where I start with squats. And on the second one, I like to make a deadlift focus where I start with deadlifts. So I might do squats, and then you could do rack pulls, okay? Or power shrugs after that, your second exercise. And then you can do deadlifts, and after that, you could do leg presses or 20-rep squats or even more squats. So that's how I structure it. Leo, is split like push-pull legs upper 4 days in the gym a good idea if I have naturally big legs and want to focus more on upper body? As long as you're training legs 1 day a week to maintain, you can really do whatever you want to do. The key thing to understand is no matter how often you train your upper body, you have to be patient, because there's going to be no magic workout system. You don't want to overdo the volume each week. You want to keep pretty much the same volume if you're training upper body twice a week or 3 times a week. You don't want to overdo the volume. You really want to focus on getting stronger and having a reasonable amount of volume and just being patient. Weaknesses or lagging areas take time to bring up. So don't try to force them with magic combinations, but don't overdo things. Let's just put it that way. Absolutely, that can definitely help. Just don't overdo things. Jay Parker says it's the bearded beast of Duloc, kids. The bearded beast of Duloc. Ben Out Adventure says, I forgot to tell you I tried your 50 rep lateral raise and my shoulders were toast. I love to do 50 rep finishers on lateral raises. That's a wonderful way to bring in the pain. Jonathan, don't know how to ask, but why am I good at doing one arm dumbbell rows but struggle with barbell rows? I can do 130 by 13, but on barbell rows, I can do 135 by 10. Any idea? You'll always be stronger unilaterally with one arm, almost always on most movements. When you're doing two arms, okay, you're going to be pretty darn strong. But when you're doing one arm, your body is going to just kind of super fire up your central nervous system and put all of its resources into that one arm, whereas before it was putting it into both. Generally, I don't know physiologically what they call it. I just know the central nervous system is going to focus on that one arm, and you're going to be able to be a little more stronger than you would equally. If you're, for example, I could do 405 by 5 on barbell rows. So you would think on a dumbbell row, it would be 205 by 5 or 202.5 by 5, right? Split. It's not so. I was able to do like 260 by 10. You're just always going to be stronger on one arm than both as a whole, generally. So it can depend on the movement, though. Like a one-arm dumbbell bench press is very unsteady, so it's not always the case. How to stop sugar cravings. Stop eating sugar is the first thing. Sugar is a huge source of addiction. There is a huge issue with sugar addiction in our culture, and the best thing, like smoking, is to stop it. You will find once you stop it, you stop craving it. I do not crave sugar. The fact that you crave sugar all the time is probably a sign that you have a sugar addiction. You just simply need to stop, and you need to fight the cravings, just like anybody else that would stop smoking or stop drinking. It is no different. You need to fight it. Daniel, hey Steve, currently benching 5 by 5 for 200. That's strong. Thoughts on getting to 5 by 5 by 225 in 8 weeks following a typical body part bro split? At your strength levels, doing a split is probably a good idea. Make sure you're getting in a lot of quality triceps work. You're doing 220 by 5 by 5. I would add in more bench volume, to be honest with you. That's 25 reps, and it's pretty decent. But I would start to challenge yourself with bench volume. I've seen a lot of guys in that range, when they increase their volume, they notice that their bench press went up. So you do 220, but you don't have to do this if you don't want, if you think I'm a dickhead, but I would take your 200 by 5 by 5. I would drop it to 180, and I do 5 sets of as many reps as possible. Just boom, try to get that to 180 by 5 by 10, and then try to get that to 185 by 5 by 10, and then go back in 8 weeks and just see what you maybe start off with 2 5-rep sets. All right. Just because you like the 5-rep sets, and then just drop off and do maybe 3 sets at lighter weight, like 180, and try to do 3 by 10. Try to get in more volume and see what that does in 8 weeks. Jonathan Dunmore, when my funds are better January, I'd like to get coaching. First month of coaching is actually free. So your funds are ready for that now. But seriously, Jonathan, if you want coaching, the first month is free right now. So you can slide up in my DM on Instagram at Ben the Barman. And the first month is free. After that, I asked for a 3-month commitment, but just a heads up on that. So Fat Buddy Cat. I'm squat pressing 185. I hang clean the weight from the ground, then do a front squat into a standing overhead press. It's not an exercise for the faint of heart. Is this a good idea to do it? It's a good idea to do it if you like to do it. That's as simple as it gets in life. If you like to do something, do it. That's all I can say. Yes, says heavy power shrugs versus strict. Also, what do you think about shrugs the Rippetoe Starway? Reset the bar on the pins after every rep. I think that's foolish. That's just my opinion. I think that's a complete waste of time. But strict, Strict, it basically means lacking power. And why are we trying to take power out of the most powerful muscle group of the human body? I discussed this earlier, but what I like to do is recommend that that you do like 2 to 3. You do static holds and reps at the same time to increase your time under tension. You don't have to be like super sloppy loose, but you know, I don't like strict shrugs at all. I don't like strict shrugs at all. I like adding static holds and shrugs. I like doing a volume of power shrugs. In my opinion, that's the best way to do things, in my opinion. And it's a lot more fun than doing, you know, setting the reps down. Ross says, hello, what's going on, Ross? Cool sweater, thank you. Annabelle Dickerson, if I miss a day at the gym, should I hit that day or just continue on with my next body part? I continue on with your next body part. I know some of us, it gives us this mental tick because we just get tremors because we got to keep everything on the same day every week. But I don't, you know, life is life for most of us, and I would move on to the next body part. Prophet Fear says, I want to digress from the questions and have a dirge for Bush Bud. Bush Bud accused people like you of being fake natties. He took SARMs and still, look, do you even lift? Rest in peace. I don't give a fuck about any of those fuckheads in YouTube fitness. I don't care. I'm here to help people. Excuse my language. I don't care who's out there running their mouth about anything. I get in here and do what I do. I help people for a living. I lift heavy weight. And I honestly, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I don't give a fuck who says anything about me. It doesn't fucking matter. All that drama is for all that drama can just go away. Occasionally, I'll make a video about someone and their bad information to educate people, but I do not give a fuck about anybody out there. Anybody that's out there trying to accuse people of stuff, A, they don't know me. And B, they want attention. There's 2 types of people in YouTube fitness. The people that want attention, the people that want to help people. I don't give a fuck about attention. I really don't. I get enough attention from being on YouTube. But you know what? I want to help people. Every single day, I'm glued to my phone answering your questions for free. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. It's what I like to do. I like to help people. So I don't care about that stuff. You can digress all you want, fake natties and SARMs and all that kind of crap. Who fucking gives a shit? Who gives a shit? All right, Tom says, Merry Christmas to the Massive Iron subs. Merry Christmas, Tom. How's it going, Daniel? Jake, as a skinny guy trying to clean bulk and get stronger, does the old school advice of drinking a gallon of milk actually work? Does it work? Yes. Is it the best way to do things? No. You're 5'10", 150 right now. You are better off. There's better ways to get in calories. You can add sour cream to food. You can add cheese to food. You can add an ounce or 2 of heavy cream to a protein shake. There's better, more enjoyable ways of adding calories to your diet than that. So does it work? Yeah. Is it the best way to do things? No. It's just not pleasant and fun. And you don't want to gain weight too rapidly either. John West, using a 2-minute block for leg extensions. Oh, a block. I got you. 2-minute block for leg extensions and curls. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to do things. Daniel says, I'm a stroke patient, 16-year-old. Cheer me up. I love you, Daniel, but I'm not an entertainment box, and I hope you get well. Ishmael, hey, Steve, love your videos, by the way. I've been running strong lifts 5x5 for a year now, and have achieved 4-plate deadlift by 5. Wonderful, great job. Strong lifts is not a well-rounded program. I'm glad you made progress on it, but you might want to consider if you really want to build a good power building base, you want to build a lot of muscle and strength and maybe move on from that program to something that's a little bit more well-rounded. S. Param, if you have a proper squat form, you really don't need any extra quad work. Yes, you do. Yeah, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Anybody that says that is ignorant. Completely ignorant. I don't know if you were on here last week doing the same thing, but let's see here. BHUD, are cleans good for trap development? Absolutely. They're a wonderful choice for trap development. I've done them over the years for a while and really enjoyed them. So it's not something I do often, but yeah, they're a good choice. Exercises to focus on lower outer chest. Lower outer chest. That's a good question. I don't honestly, Charles. Excuse me. Let me get some water here. Honestly, I don't. When I'm training a muscle group, you can't really target certain areas of muscle. You can just make the overall muscle bigger. So, with the chest, I just train the chest normally. I don't ever think about training. I like to use different movement patterns because I don't want to overwork one movement pattern. But, you could theoretically try decline presses because that hits that feels like you can feel it lower in the chest. But I don't believe personally that targets the lower chest. So I hope that helps. Thank you, Mr. X. CL Washed one opinion on triceps dips, underrated or dangerous? Are you talking bench dips or bench dips have never felt good to me. Tricep dips. The thing I don't like about tricep dips is when people tend to do them for a heavy weight. I prefer to see a lot of rep. I prefer to see you get really good at getting to 50 reps on them and taking care of your shoulders and going really, really heavy. For 2 months, I did not train. This is from W. For 2 months, I did not train deadlift due to ignorance and proper grip technique. Now my squat and deadlift are the same. Is that normal? Or am I doing something wrong? It can definitely be normal. I mean, some guys are just better at one lift, maybe mechanically. They're structured better. Like for me, I'm not naturally structured for a great squat, but my body tends to be able to handle deadlifts much better. So yeah, absolutely. That can be normal. Just focus on getting your back and quads as strong as possible. Let's see. Cold, dark night, lower back problems, can't squat. Can you develop legs, quads on leg press alone? I don't ever recommend trying to attack a muscle group with just one exercise, but you can certainly build leg size without squats. But you would probably need a more well-rounded program. What do you think about WASP? The band? Dumbbell curls, alternating or both hands? I prefer alternating. That's just how I prefer. I've never, if you like doing them both hands, absolutely. That's absolutely fine. It's just a matter of preference, honestly. And I've always felt alternating felt better. What's your current dumbbell overhead press? I don't do a lot of heavy work. I was talking with Alan about this, Alan Roberts, this week. And I think we both kind of limited at 70s for multiple sets of 10. I did, I think 70s for 5 sets of 10. But that's about as heavy as I go these days. Madeline, good morning, sir. Best creatine. And does creatine affect you differently as you grow older? I don't know that your sensitivity or how you handle creatine changes as you age. I've seen no information on that. The best creatine, you just need to look for a company that makes a quality creatine product. MTS Nutrition has Creapure. We know the quality is good, and it's only like $12. So I would go over to Tiger Fitness and look at Creapure. Boom, great interview with the supplement engineer the other day. Oh, I forgot about that. Supplement engineer over on Instagram and YouTube. We did a podcast that ran about 2 hours. I was kind of sleepy, but check that out if you can. Jackson Miller says, thoughts on drinks such as Gatorade, Powerade after a workout, or should I just drink water? I don't like drinks with sugar. So if it has sugar, I just don't think that's good health-wise over the long run. So I would probably look for an alternative after your workout. Maybe just a protein shake or something. But if that's all you have, great. It's a good idea to get in your electrolytes. I just don't like doing that with sugar. Let's see. At what strength level would it make sense to do a powerlifting meet? where you're at right now, there's no reason not to do a meet if you're interested. Set a date and go for it. There's this misconception that everybody at a powerlifting meet's Herculean strong. Nothing could be further from the truth. Go have fun. Go do it. Does creatine cause hair loss? I hope so, because women find bald men more attractive. No, I don't think it does. I saw one article on that once, and I'm not sold. Jane Doe, morning. I do deadlifts on my leg day. In my experience, I feel 75% hamstring, 25% back. Do you feel pulling from the floor is too much? 2 times a week. I don't like pulling from the floor twice a week. I don't think it adds much value. But with that said, you can do it if the weight is light enough. Just don't overdo it. You have to balance volume, intensity, and frequency. So if you're going to add frequency, you need to pull back on daily volume and daily intensity. Intensity is how heavy the weight is. Holloway or Ortega, I'm not sure what either of those are. They sound like taco shells. Thanks for your time, Steve. Been a sub since you had less than 1,000. I appreciate everybody who follows me. I really do. Justin says, big, hairy, ugly dude, when did the bearded beast of Duloc die? Any particular reason you switched names? Didn't like it? No, I mean, that was a depressed, fat power lifter. That was me. I mean, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I just got in front of a camera and just started to speak. And somewhere along the line, I started calling myself the big, hairy, ugly dude. And people started, calling me that. So it was kind of something that came from you guys, honestly. You guys kind of killed the bearded beast of Duloc and brought about the big, hairy, ugly dude. Let's see. Somebody says, you're a boss, big, hairy, ugly dude. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Tyler says, keep up the videos. Thank you. Let's see. Hanging there, Daniel. Tom, rep speed for side lateral raises, switching it up. Don't go super slow on stuff. I mean, don't. I teach people control. Either you control the weight or the weight controls you. So control the weight, but don't slow things down too much. Tyler says, for your 50 rep bench press challenge, do you recommend warming up with cables first? You can warm up with cables. You can pretty much warm up any way you want. The purpose of a warm-up is to raise body temperature, to get blood in the muscles, and to activate fire up the central nervous system. So whatever works for you, as long as you're not fatigued going in. Prophet Fear says there's a trend between smaller YouTube channels to discard barbell rows. There are people who want to maximize deadlifts, and the reasoning is that it eats lower back recovery for nothing. Those people are weak, and I'm just being honest with you. People that overthink stuff, like it eats lower back recovery, I guarantee those guys have weak-ass deadlifts. So, I mean, seriously, if your lower back is not recovering, it's probably because you're just weak and need time. I like dumbbell rows. But I tend to do barbell rows after deadlifts. So I'll do deadlifts and then a row, like a barbell row, or deadlifts and a dumbbell row. So, a lot of these theories and a lot of this information is just from weak people that just speculate and run around over video ejaculating theories. And really all they need to do is just shut up and get stronger. What are your thoughts on pause deadlifts and pause squats? Not a fan on pause deadlifts. It puts too much strain on the lower back. There are many, many other ways to work on your deadlift strength than to pause a deadlift. Pause squats, on the other hand, are pretty much a good idea. S. Parham, I have huge legs. Focusing on, I'd like to see your huge legs, really. This is a guy that says you don't need any other leg work other than squats because he has huge legs. You're very naive, and I hope you will unsubscribe from my channel. For high calories nutrition, I make a huge pot of chili. Yep. Slop in some white rice and some sour cream. That's perfect. Don't tempo your deadlifts. Clayton asks about tempo deadlifts. don't tempo deadlifts or squats. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. You want to control your movements, but you don't want to tempo them. Don't do that to a heavy compound movement. That's a good way to get hurt. That takes the power out of these movements. It's just not a good idea. Is it normal for me to be doing paused high bars with 255 for multiple sets and reintroducing non-paused high bars and still doing 255 for multiple sets? Is it normal? Yeah, absolutely can be normal. It says, do Alan Rogers vertical jump challenge. No, I don't like doing vertical jumps. we covered that earlier. How much calories do you take in a day? I take in 24 to 2,600. Trying to get through all that. It's been an hour, so I'm trying to get through the questions. I stalled on a 5x5. How to continue progress? Go get away from a 5x5. Go do something with more volume. That's my best advice. And will cutting impair strength progression? It depends on how much strength you've built already, to be honest with you. If you haven't built a lot of strength, you should still be able to build strength while cutting. Is locking out on the knees on leg press a good idea? I occasionally do that, like late into a set when I'm just trying to squeeze out 1 or 2 more reps. It's, there's a lot of craziness in this industry that act like you're going to die if you do something like that, but occasionally not a big deal. Athlete X says people shouldn't do leg curls because they tend to use their lower back. Okay. I do leg curls all my life and I feel fine. So Athlete X trains athletes. And you know what? I've done leg curls all my life. I know an army of people have done leg curls all their life and they're absolutely fine. Last question, is German volume training a good choice after 5x5? It's hard to say. I don't think that's your next step. I think you need a more well-rounded program with more volume. Jay Mounts, Steve, I'm 49, of spinal fusion, etc. I'm not into extreme weightlifting. I just want to look good and be in shape. Do you recommend 3x12 or 5x8? I would probably, either of those is fine. You're getting in a good volume. So I do whatever feels best on a specific exercise for you. Any tips on binge eating? This is going to be the last question for the day because I just hit an hour. But if you're a binge eater, you probably need to move to something that's like a more fasting lifestyle where you eat maybe 500, fasting more focused on restriction of food during the day to work with your existing lifestyle. So maybe eat 500 to 800 calories max during the day and then save more of your calories for the night. At night, eat 1 plate of food and then walk away for an hour before you allow yourself to eat again. That's my best advice. All right, guys, I got to head out. I got a client coming in. I appreciate you guys' support. I sincerely do. If I missed your questions, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, slide up into my DM. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.